Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about duplication, and today I want to talk to you about how we built a seven-figure network marketing business with multiple streams of income, and we went from 0 to 7 figures in 14 months on a documented 7 hours a week. We didn't build it on 7 hours a week, but we could maintain it on 7 hours a week. I'm going to show you how we did that. Our best months were our average months were anything below 100 was horrible, 100,000 a month in total revenue, and our top months were 250 to 260. Okay, so that was our total business revenue with all of our different streams of income, and we could do that, like I said, we could maintain that on a documented 7 hours per week. Now, the reason I want to show you this is because we get a lot of people that come to us, clients that are in the multi six-figure range and seven-figure range, and their life sucks. They were told that they could build freedom as they built their business, and the reality is they didn't build freedom. They built themselves a kind of an annoying job. Listen, I have no problem with someone working 40 hours a week. That doesn't bother me. I think work is a good thing, but I am all about leverage work and doing work that is worthy of your time. And on one hand, you were told that you could build freedom with your business, and most network marketers don't build freedom. They build themselves a babysitting job. And with that said, the second point is the work that most network marketers are doing sucks. Like the work sucks. They're chasing people around. They're like herding cats. They're dealing with people's like psychological issues, like a freaking therapist. It's horrible. I mean, it's not fun work. And so we get these people, and they're multi six, they're seven-figure earners, and they don't really have systems in their business. There's really no clear scaffolding in how the thing has grown or is growing, and their life either one blows or two, they do have enough leaders below them, which is awesome, but they really couldn't replicate it. So we know other people that are kind of stuck in their businesses. They're kind of stuck in their downlines because they're really not able to replicate what they currently have or grow business outside of what they currently have. So let's talk about duplication. I'm going to assume that either you have a solid growth plan or you already are growing really well or you already have a team. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. And just to be very clear, we didn't work 7 hours a week to get to 7 figures in 14 months. Okay, we worked a lot more than that in order to do that. We could maintain it on 7 hours a week, just to be clear. It would still grow. It just wouldn't like exponentially explode on literally doing 7 documented hours a week. Now, I know in like when we were coming up in like old school network marketing, and by coming up, I mean failing miserably in old school network marketing because it sucks. We were told we could build the business on 5 to 10 hours a week. That was total baloney. No way. I don't know. And then if you figured out a way to build a seven-figure income from zero all the way to 7 figures, and during that entire time you're working 5 hours a week, that's amazing. This video isn't for you. I don't even know what's for you besides like selling every drug imaginable. Okay, so let's talk about this. So the very first thing that people need to systematize, whatever, is people asking you for help. Okay, and so that's where most people just go astray. You get 10 people on team and they're already busy. It's like, bro, what are you gonna do with 1,000? You're gonna die. So we need to systematize that portion of the business. So the very first thing we need to do is create a support flow. And we need to empower our downline or other people's upline in this support flow as well. So let's create this. We have a question. The first place is I want the new guy to go to this membership site that we have set up. Okay. So we're going to build a membership site. We can call this a skills-based curriculum. And in the membership site, we're going to have all of our tactical and company training there. This membership site, you're like, well, I don't have that. Well, you should build it. So, and by the way, if you don't know how to build it, I'll put a link down below. We have a network marketing software called Duplicate where we can do all of this under one roof. Okay. So membership site, this is where your tactical training and your skills-based curriculum is at. So the very first place that I want my people to go to is the membership site and look for your answer there. The next thing is, and this can either be interchanged, is this website, you may have heard of it. It's called Google. Now, some of you may be like, oh, shoot, I don't want my people to go to Google because they could learn something that could screw them up. First of all, if you're that scared, your business probably isn't very good. But let's just pretend I agree with you for a second. You don't use Google. Fine, just take Google out of this and send them to the membership site first. Totally fine. An ideal scenario is if you have some sort of search bot in the membership site. That can be a little bit tricky depending on what you use. So worst case scenario is you build another searchable site if you want. Didn't have to do this part. We did. You can build it in something called Notion. It's a relatively cheap tool. It's very powerful, and it has a search function in it. So you can put all essentially your membership site into Notion as well, and you can search for it. So however you do this, whatever, you can have a search area where they can search their stuff, or they can just like click on a few things inside of a kind of a static membership site. But either way, you have a repository of information, skills-based curriculum. So you should never repeat yourself on tactical training, ever. Now, I know that some people are like, they're totally brought up not that way. They're like, I need to serve my team and tell them all the answers. And some teams go as far, my old team went as far as to like driving to people every 4 seconds to like teach them stuff. You should never repeat tactical training. Do I make myself clear? You should not repeat tactical training. Ever. Ever. You should systemize it. If you get the question more than twice, systemize it. I don't know if it's systemize or systematize. I'm going to say systemize because it's shorter. That's the very first place that you go. Okay, after this, now it comes time for some sort of personal touch, personal connection. So we need to segregate this into 2 different areas. The first one is going to be upline. Put it down here. The second one is going to be a weekly call. Now, the weekly call is going to handle almost everything. The upline thing is truly urgent. Now, I define truly urgent for people such as an enrollment, like a right now enrollment, like right now the enrollment is happening, or there's one little thing that needs to happen, enrollment, or that's really it. We're going to leave it as enrollment. You can make other definitions. I'll just leave it there for now. Another one you can use, you just have to be careful with this. You have to clearly define this for people, is maybe a high value person is quitting. But even then, you shouldn't really have that. So truly urgent is enrollment, and this goes to upline. So they've gone through the membership site and they still have a question. If you get the question more than twice, you put it in the membership site. So after a few months, you should really not have any questions. Once a week, you're going to do a weekly Zoom call of some kind for your downline. In that Zoom call, the first part of that call is a culture call. You are getting the culture from you to them. So you'll open it with setting the vision. You'll edify people. Okay, edify people in your downline. You will then do you'll do a training, and this is really where you're doing brain surgery, and you're getting the culture to them. The second part of that call is a Q&A with you. This is the one time per week that people can get direct access to you as the primary leader of the organization. So you're not fielding millions of questions from all kinds of people. You're directing everything to this call. So now all of your Q&A just got whittled down into a 1 hour to 2 hour time slot, depending on how long you schedule that first part of the call. Does that make sense? Over time, you'll even pass these questions off to your other leaders in this team, and really you're just there to show face during this part and then just kind of be available if someone wants to actually ask the big guy a question. Now, sometimes there will be actually urgent questions, and you want to define this for people as in like right now enrollment-based questions. Like if I answer this, this will help a person get enrolled or not, right? That's how we would define that, and that can go to an upline outside of this weekly call, all right? If you break these rules, you'll get bombarded on. If you don't, then you'll be good. Now, obviously, you're only going to be handling this for your direct people that you sponsor, and then the people that your people sponsor, they'll go to their upline. So you only have to deal with this with so many people. So that's very important that you're not letting stuff bubble up. Now, if, again, you want to define that enrollment thing for them. Cool? All right, so we get this right now. Now, that's kind of step one. This is going to take care of, it's going to take your workload very, very far down. Depending on how much you've been busting your butt in your business, this could seem like not enough. And I can tell you, it's enough for the vast majority of your team. Now, the second thing is going to be one-on-ones or, one-on-many. So basically like other team calls. So depending on the level of growth that someone has, you can choose to enact different types of one-on-ones. The final thing, by the way, is the all okay list. Okay, so one-on-ones is what it sounds like. As your team gets bigger, you will have one-on-ones with different people. So in the very beginning, you might have a guy with 3 people, and you're like, wow, that's my biggest guy. Okay, great. So he gets the one-on-one. And then you're going to start it over time. The guy with 3 people, like there's 1,000 of them, so you're not going to spend any time with that person anymore. You'll spend one-on-one time with the guy who has 1,000 people. So here's the way that you would structure this. If they are your biggest people and they're growing quickly, you'll do this weekly. Weekly. If they are next step down, you'll do bi-weekly. And if they're up and coming, you'll do monthly. Now, obviously, these definitions will change. Here's the kicker. You can set these for, it's up to you. I did 12 weeks. You can do 4, 8, or 12 weeks. But basically, you'll set these in a way that the meeting will automatically fall off at a predetermined amount of meetings. So I typically did 12. So after 12 weeks, that meeting would cancel off. And we'd both be able to take an assessment, like, did this person apply my coaching or not? If they didn't, we set expectations from the very beginning that I'm not renewing this on week 13 automatically. We have to decide that this is worth the time. So at the very beginning of these meetings, when I would take on a coaching relationship, I would send them a video. And that video would be the coaching expectations, like, hey, here's what I expect from you. On time, this, blah, 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 blah. I expect you to apply the coaching, etc. Don't come to me with new questions if you didn't apply my answers from last time, so on and so forth. This is when I would explain the 1-3-1 method. So, hey, when you have a question for me, I expect you to come with a 1-3-1. Number one is a defined problem. I'm not a counselor. Give me a defined problem that you have. Give me 3 recommendations to solve it, and give me 1 proposed solution. You do that, you can cram in a lot of quality coaching in a short amount of time, but most people have no system for their coaching. So, you know my expectations. You know that on week 13, this ends, and we have to decide to continue again. So no harm, no foul. If in week 13 we didn't get the results we wanted, no big deal. Coaching ended anyway. We can choose to re-up for another 12 weeks. And then using that 1-3-1 can be very helpful. Does that make sense? Now, you have another set of coaching that you can use, which is one-to-many. So let's say you have a team blowing up, but there's no really quality leader in place yet. You can use a one-to-many approach, and you can do this weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, depending on what makes the most sense. And now I'll meet with that whole downline, whatever that is. So, hey, this leader's blowing up. He's got 50 people. He's got 100 people. Cool. I'm going to spend once a week with them. He's not really a strong leader yet. He's really good at enrolling, but he's not super good at doing anything else. I'll go in there. I'll build culture. I'll create an identity around that team, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So with that, you can actually plan these meets. And so if you get these little outside things, number one, you want to coach people away from, if you reached out to me about something that wasn't a legitimate, actual emergency that was helpful for the business, I'm just going to say, hey, bro, good question. Save that for our next one-on-one. Easy. Don't answer it. Save it for our next one-on-one or whatever. You get it, right? Again, there's a lot of fear here with most people. They're like, well, my people need answers. No, they need to learn how to think. They need to learn how to lead themselves. You can't replicate yourself if you just tell them everything to do. You have to give them an outcome. You have to measure them on their progress. Then you have to coach them. That's how you can start replicating yourself. And you put things in confined areas so that you can actually have freedom. People respect structure, by the way. You might think that they don't, but they do. It's almost becoming cliche now, but the whole quote about discipline equals freedom, it's true. A lot of people that want freedom, they think that like having nothing to do equals freedom. No, in fact, they're just really undisciplined, and because there's no structure in their life whatsoever, they really don't have any freedom, both of time or, more importantly, mental freedom, because there's no buckets for anything to go into. Final thing is I still have an all okay list. Is everything is okay? So this list is 4 to 6 things that if all of these things are doing okay, everything's probably fine. I don't really need to worry about it. So this is really helpful for, like, let's say Christmas break. You're taking the month off or whatever, and you're like, hey, I just want to do the bare minimums to still keep my business, right? Having that all okay list allows you to check very quickly, hey, are these things fine? And if these things are fine, I can relax. And if they're not fine, I just know what to fix, and then I can relax. So it depends on everyone's business, depending on how you actually grow the thing. But for us, it was lead flow. That was number 1. And there was a few different things below that, like, is the cost per lead okay? Is the flow okay? Is the distribution okay? Right? So is lead flow okay? And if so, okay, cool. I can move on from that. Number 2 was our evergreen marketing. So we took the word from the GOAT RB, but our Seinfelds, we call it Seinfelds. So as a Seinfeld's okay, is our evergreen marketing going out okay, on time, on schedule? Is stuff being written, so on and so forth? Is that stuff okay? So this might be, the equivalent of like, are your social media posts scheduled for the week or the month or whatever it is that you're doing, right? So lead flow, Seinfeld. This is the first two of the things that we had. Then we had, is the overall belief in our leaders okay? So belief in leaders. Do I need to encourage anybody? So if my belief in my leaders is okay, well then they're trained to deliver belief into their downlines and so on and so forth. So we had a list of these different things. The other ones are only specific to the way we were building it with Rebel, so they're not even relevant for this right now. But having this all okay list where you can check things off and say, okay, everything's fine, is very helpful. What I would suggest is taking the time. This stuff, listen, no one likes putting this stuff together. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything. It's one of those things, it's like a savings account kind of, where you're taking effort that you don't get a quick reward from, and you're putting it into the future, and you get that reward later. So building systems like this, it doesn't feel sexy as you're doing it. You don't really get immediate gratification. You might not get gratification for, weeks, months, maybe many months, maybe even years, depending on where you're starting from. But if you put these things in place, this is how you can have a lot of peace and a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility in your life and in your business to do the work that you actually want to do, to spend the time that you want to spend with people and things like that. Cool? So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this kind of gives you a kickstart into how we structured our stuff with actually duplicating our team and doing it on 7 hours a week. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I don't know, call the police. Leave a comment down below, and if I get to it someday, it would be awesome. If not, love you guys. See you in the next video.